This is AIM Agenda. Thanks for being with us. Joining me now, Labor MP Ed Husic and Liberal MP Josh Frydenberg. Josh, first to you on Cubby Station. You are a strong supporter of foreign investment. You've just got back from China, in fact, at the weekend. Difficult one for Tony Abbott to manage this, isn't it? The differences within the coalition on Cubby Station and the acquisition of it by the Chinese-led consortium.
Look, I think the main point, Kieran, is that the coalition strongly supports foreign investment when it's in the national interest, and that includes the sale of Cubby Station if it's a commercial deal made on commercial terms with the required conditions attached. Now, the issue at hand here is that Wayne Swan put the release out at 5 p.m. on a Friday. That's akin to putting it out on Christmas Eve. Now, it's up to him as the Treasurer and the person responsible to actually explain to the Australian people why the deal went through. But as for the coalition, Tony Abbott and Joe Hockey have made it very clear our position is to strongly support foreign investment, and that includes the sale of Cubby Station. I might also just point out, Kieran,
the Nationals aren't happy. It's a point of sensitivity, isn't it, with some of your colleagues within the coalition?
Oh, absolutely. It's a point of sensitivity, but at the end of the day, we are a coalition and we reach mutually agreed solutions and announcements. And look, I think the point here is that we believe the foreign investment framework can be improved, and we put out a very detailed discussion paper, and that included lowering the thresholds for approval from FIRB. That also included upgrading the quality of the board of FIRB to have someone with agricultural experience, and that also included greater transparency with a register, a land register of foreign acquisitions.
Well, why did the Treasurer do this on a Friday afternoon, put the garbage out late on a Friday as Barnaby Joyce described it? Ed Husic, can I get your thoughts on that?
It's just outrageous. You know, like what's being suggested is that there's been that this has been sort of just snuck through. The processes of going through FIRB approval are very thorough, and you know, despite what Barnaby Joyce said earlier about Wayne Swan just approving this sale, he knows, and mostly everyone knows, that FIRB goes through this with a fine-tooth comb. And you know, I would just love to see, for the sake of this issue, a sort of bipartisan approach, and by that I mean between the Liberals and the Nationals, on foreign investment, because up until now it just seems like it's this ABC approach, anyone but China. Foreign investment, it's easy to work out in the coalition because it's ABC, anyone but China, and this is just a ridiculous way in which foreign investment, which is crucial for the economy, which is necessary to sustain a lot of businesses in the economy, we're just having this confected outrage by some on the coalition side. Yeah. Now, ultimately, can I just make this point? If you can't get, and there is a part Australian buyer in this, in the consortium that's been approved, but if you can't find local buyers for a $300 million investment, what are you going to do? Are you going to direct Australian industry to invest, or are you going to have a mature approach recognising that there will be flows between nations on investment? And we just don't seem to be getting that out of the coalition.
We've seen the impact of China on, obviously, commodity prices, lower commodity prices at the moment. Fortescue Metals yesterday announced a delay in one of its projects, 1,000 jobs gone. I want to play you both a bit of a video to the Sydney Mining Club of Australia's richest person, the chairwoman of the resources giant Hancock Prospecting. Let's have a listen.
Now the evidence is unarguable that Australia is indeed becoming too expensive and too uncompetitive to do export-orientated business. Businesses that must sell their product in the world economy at world market, not Australian prices. What was too readily argued as the self-interested complaints of a greedy few is now becoming the accepted truth, and, more ominously, is showing up in incontrovertible data.
Are we seeing the results of that data, Ed Husic, with the announcement from Fortescue yesterday?
So what data are we going to take on board? Are we going to take on board the fact that there's been nearly $1 trillion of investment, private investment in this nation, nearly 2/3 of GDP since 2007, or the fact that over the next year there's about $190 billion next financial year of investment, 119 of it out of mining? The type of projects that are in the pipeline, 260 billion I think I've seen in the resources sector. So we either take a pinprick approach where we pick one or two projects and try and then stretch that out to represent what's happening in the broader economy, or we look at the data as a whole. And the data as a whole shows that we've got strong investment in this sector and that there are a lot of jobs that flow out of that.
Is this just a phase in the boom, Josh Frydenberg, that we will see? Well, the end of the prices boom, but next you've got the construction and the production boom, which, as you say, in China looks like it's going to continue for the foreseeable future, isn't it?
Well, look, I think there is robust growth in China. I mean, the last quarter saw 7.6% growth, and you'll see a greater internal demand as a result of a slowdown in China's exports. But with the greatest respect, Kieran, I think Ed's got his head in the sand. I mean, because Julia Gillard turns up at the mining conference yesterday and talks about school policy. I mean, she didn't have the courage to take on the elephant in the room. And that is the greater cost of doing business in Australia, which is not just making Fortescue abandon a $10 billion project. It's making, Woodside avoid spending tens of billions of dollars on the Browse Basin, or Shell with their program, of course Olympic Dam with $30 billion, or the Port Hedland port development of $20 billion. These are major projects that have been abandoned or postponed because of the greater cost of doing business. Now, David Knox, who's the CEO of Santos, went out there and said if he was to open a gas production facility in the Gulf of Mexico, it would be 1/3 of the cost of doing it in Australia. Now, why didn't Julia Gillard go and have the courage to tell the miners that it's her industrial relations policies, that it's the mining tax and the carbon tax and the tax structures, it's the government's failure on skills? These are all parts of the reason why it's more expensive to do business in Australia.
Well,
and Ed, with the greatest respect, you've got your head in this. Yeah, you got rid of the technical. Ed, I listened to you. Ed, I listened to you. I listened to you. You got rid of the technical colleges.
Let me ring the bell just momentarily. Josh, you wrap up quickly and we'll get Ed's thoughts on it.
Look, they got rid of the 38 technical colleges that John Howard put in place. They got rid of the Australian Building and Construction Commission, which was a cop on the beat, and they've introduced a mining and a carbon tax, which has increased the cost of doing business in Australia.
And well, we did see, and as Josh,
Ed, about skill shortages, Josh.
Okay, but Ed, what about the costs? What about the costs? Let's go to those issues first, because Josh rightly pointed out a number of projects which have been delayed. Most recently, Fortescue yesterday.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, Kieran, I mean, you can take one or two events, or you can look at the broader patterns. And the other thing that was completely overlooked in terms of what, with respect, Josh, your contribution a few moments ago, lower commodity prices, and also the fact that we've got a high Australian dollar. And if you want to talk about how skills aren't relevant to any sector, there's no greater statement that demonstrates head in the sand than that. We've been investing in terms of trade training centres, we've been investing in terms of BER, what we want to do on Gonski, opposed every step of the way by you guys, or failed to be supported by you guys. So don't moan about skills on the one hand and then not, walk the walk and talk the talk at the same time. The other thing is too, that most people will say, and particularly in the resources sector, that skills is a big issue. Getting people to work on major projects where major projects are threatened because they can't find people is a big issue. So where's the head in the sand now?
Okay, all right, Josh, and the point about the commodity prices, the dollar, all of that's true as well, isn't it? Just quickly, we've got less than a minute left.
Look, commodity prices are down, but it's the cost of doing business. I mean, these businesses are thinking long term when the commodity prices will go upwards again. But for the Prime Minister to talk about implementing Gonski by 2020 and to make that the big issue when she's talking to mining companies that are making investments of tens of billions of dollars today in our sector is just crazy. I mean, it's chalk and cheese. She's not actually on the ball.
Okay, Josh Frydenberg, Ed Husic, gentlemen, good to see you this Wednesday morning. Thanks for being there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all for AIM Agenda. Thank you for your company as well. The news is next.